Thanks for having me. All right. I'm going to try to breeze through this presentation. I'm going to start my timer. All right. So, Flat Earth 101. So, let's cover some basics of debate that oftentimes get left out of this conversation. Falsification is independent of replacement. Example, you think you have biological parents. They actually adopted you. You find the evidence you were adopted. They don't become your real parents until you find out who your real parents are. You falsified that they're your biological parents until you find out who they really are. So falsification is independent of replacement. The burden of proof is on the one making the positive claim, and the shifting the burden of proof is the fallacy of putting the burden of proof on the person who denies or questions the assertion being made, which is very important in this discussion. For example, if you tell me that dinosaurs and rockets go to space and unicorns exist, and you say, I read it in a book, you're making a positive claim. You say, look, I have a picture of a unicorn. That doesn't mean that unicorns exist. Unicorn pictures in books don't prove anything. But if you make the positive claim, you have the burden of proof. Oftentimes what happens is Flat Earth is strawmanned with incredibly egregious and inept representations of the actual position. This is called a straw man fallacy. Why don't you fall off the edge of your space pizza? Attacking a misrepresentation of the other person's argument, which was alluded to in his opener. Another fallacy I hope to avoid is an ad hominem fallacy, attacking the person instead of the argument. Like flat earthers just don't understand basic science. Credentials fallacy pops up a lot, saying, well, your argument can be dismissed because the person asserting the argument doesn't have the proper credentials to make that argument. That's called credentials fallacy. The appeal to majority, an example would be every 7 billion people believe the Earth's a ball, but you think you're right. It's an argument for an unproved conclusion based on the beliefs of a large group of people, which is fallacious. Appealing to the authority of whoever it is that makes the claim is also, of course, a fallacy. All scientists agree. Another one that we get a lot of is poisoning the well, using ad hominem attacks to preemptively discredit the opponent. This is obviously fallacious and inadmissible in intellectual forum. All flat earthers are science-denying religious conspiracy theorists, as an example. We also have the begging the question fallacy. One of the most popular fallacies in this discussion, hands down. Every single evidence I've ever been provided for the Earth being a sphere is something that begs the question that the Earth's a sphere. Every single one of them. 5-6 years into this, I've yet to be given one piece of empirical evidence that supports the globe Earth, void of fallacious reasoning. I honestly don't think it exists at this point. But here's an example. The globe model says the sun goes beneath the Earth, so sunsets prove the Earth's a globe. All right. So, also shifting the burden of proof, which we covered earlier. Say you show me a picture, like he alluded to, of the Earth being a ball from space, and I say, pictures can be faked. I don't buy that. There are replicated clouds all over the place. It's supposed to be a live image every 10 minutes or less. It takes 40 minutes for them to give it to us. I don't believe it. And then you say, prove the images from space are not real. Prove they're fake. You're shifting the burden on the person denying or challenging the positive assertion that that's a picture from a vacuum of the Earth being a ball. Okay, to get into specific this argument, everyone was taught the Earth's a ball from a young age, just like these children here are being indoctrinated with a pseudoscientific globe. This is why everyone here that believes the Earth's a globe believes it. And if anyone's going to be honest, that is why people believe the Earth's a globe. That's why, of course, all flat earthers once believed the Earth was a globe. You were taught that. You were told to make a model of the solar system. Everyone assumes it. Everyone assumes scientists have done it for them. They believe stories like someone navigated and proved it, and they're afraid to go against the majority. They simply blindly believe what they were taught as a child. Therefore, that is the majority positive claim here, as we were all told the Earth is a ball from a young age. So what does the globe Earth claim? It makes three predominant claims. Number one is that it's a sphere with a radius of 3,959 miles, which of course has the burden of proof to substantiate that the Earth bends convexly at a rate consistent with that radius value. Claim number two, that the Earth is spinning over 1,000 miles per hour at the equator while revolving around the sun 66,600 miles per hour on an axial tilt of 66.6 degrees. This is a very specific positive claim. No one here has ever felt the Earth spinning, nor is there any empirical measurement for it. And the current model actually says, everything happens on the Earth as if it is at rest, to quote Einstein. So we need actual evidence of that claim. Claim number 3, the Earth's in a vacuum of space. You would have to support the fact that that's even scientifically possible to have a gas pressure system sitting next to a vacuum. Just saying that's what it claims is the case isn't substantial. The heliocentric model has the burden of proof for these positive claims. And believe it or not, this is a cartoon. This actually is not real, which is pretty much all we ever get from space. Cartoons for adults. So wait, isn't saying the Earth is flat a positive claim? Of course it is. So it is a positive claim, and I know a lot of people are probably already freaking out in the chat, so I'm not reading it. He thinks he doesn't have to provide positive evidence for the flat Earth. Now, despite me about to do this for the remaining 4 minutes, people will still say no evidence was provided for flat Earth, but that is cognitive dissonance. So flat is the description of a surface. Flat is not a shape. We have the burden of proof to show that the surface of the Earth is flat, specifically a topographical plane. Flat's a description. You can have a flat square, triangle, circle. Flat's not a shape. To say that you're saying the shape of the Earth is flat really lacks specificity. And as insane as it is that I had to put that slide in there, I definitely did. Okay, so we have the burden of proof to show that the surface of the Earth is flat, and this has been done. Let's check it out. Radio waves can be sent over 10,000 miles with no Earth curvature obstruction. When this was first done, they said, oh, it bounced off the ionosphere. That's why it went past the curvature of the Earth. They claim that nothing over 40 megahertz can go through the ionosphere. World record radio propagation shows that megahertz frequencies up to 106 megahertz can go over 2,700 miles. That should be blocked by the curvature of the Earth around 200 miles. You can't study the ionosphere because it's too high of a frequency, debunks the globe. Shows that the surface has to be flat to propagate horizontally. Magnetic declination is required to correct for the inaccuracy of the symmetrical spherical assumption when navigating. The typo. As you can see in the south, it's not symmetrical to the north, which makes no sense on the sphere until you understand that the south is much bigger on the plain Earth, and they have to do this to account for the discrepancies, well documented by the world's governments as they initially explored in expeditions out south. All right. So here's some examples. They found themselves off 12 to 16 miles by observation every day. They were off 58 miles in 2 days. This is the United States exploring expedition, also off 20 miles in less than 18 hours. When they went south, it didn't work. That's actually evidence that the assumption of the sphere is incorrect. Here's a military document for ground weapon systems called Propagation over Electromagnetic Fields, or of Electromagnetic Fields over a Flat Earth. It, of course, assumes the Earth's a dielectric plane, shoots electromagnetic waves out horizontally to hit the target and attack the enemy. So this literally doesn't work unless you assume the waves are being propagated out horizontally on a plane. So, of course, when it comes to actually having to get the bad guy, the military knows they have to assume the Earth is flat. Same here for the computationally efficient algorithms for estimating the angle of arrival of helicopters. Can't even accurately land using acoustic rays unless you assume the Earth is flat. Same for the derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model. People say they do this just to make the math simpler. Well, that's weird. If the Earth's a tilted, wobbling, spinning ball, why don't we just account for what it actually is? I thought that scientists knew all about the math, and that's what proves the globe. Another evidence for flat Earth is something called specular reflection. As you see here, you have a complete specular reflection from this mountain on this water. This water must be flat to do that. Any concavity or convexity to the surface of the water would have a distorted image. It's impossible to have a specular reflection on a body of water that has any convexity. So here's an example of just a little bit of disturbance in the water, showing you that, of course, you do not get a specular reflection unless the water's calm and flat. We see these all over the Earth, over huge stretches, miles and miles of water. Here's an example, or here's it being broken down for you. You have a diffuse reflection whenever the water is not calm and flat. In order to have the actual reflection bounce back up to the observer, it has to be flat. We have these over vast distances all over the Earth. Horizon's been seen over 10 times beyond the geometric limitations of the globe, requiring the radius value be over 250,000 miles, a little different than 4,000. Observation 600 miles away, the mountain should be obstructed by 40 miles. So the entire globe model depends on the accuracy of the claimed radius value, everything. Gravity, day and night, everything. The radius value has been falsified. Welcome to Flat Earth. So there you go. There's the positive. This is not real. This is a cartoon, and it is okay. we all once thought it was real. So hope we can have a respectful conversation, leave out the fallacies, get to the evidence, and get to the bottom of it. Thank you.